How's it going, guys? So, first off, I want to talk about an issue that I've encountered from time to time with different different parts stores like AutoZone, Advance, O'Reilly's, things like that, right? Different parts stores. Because I myself have had my own personal set of issues with some of those stores, primarily AutoZone and O'Reilly's. So here's the thing. I'll show you the picture, I guess. So this is a car that I used to have that I built myself. I built this car pretty much from the ground up, or one should say, rebuilt this car from the ground up. This was my 1978 Chevy Malibu two door, which is nice. They're getting a little bit harder to find these days. This thing was pretty cool. So, being a 1978 and being a small block Chevy engine, fully carbureted, etc., those cars had mechanical fuel pumps. So, like, instead of the fuel pump being in the gas tank, how they are nowadays, the mechanical fuel pump was actually bolted to the actual side of the block, like actually bolted to the side of the engine back in those days. And it, like I said, it's a mechanical fuel pump. And they are so simple on how they function. There's really not even that much involved in how a mechanical fuel pump even functions. There's literally just like a arm or a lever or whatever you want to call it that literally just goes up and down, just raises, lowers, and lets fuel through. And that's really it for the most part. So you would think it would be very hard to screw up a mechanical fuel pump, right? Well, somehow O'Reilly's found a way to do just that. I went in one day to get a replacement mechanical fuel pump for this car because I was in the process of rebuilding it. I was trying to get everything fresh, everything new, right? So I go in there to get this mechanical fuel pump. So when I got back home and I got everything bolted back together and put back on, got the new fuel pump put on, and I go to do a test fire on the fuel pump, what do you think happened during that whole thing? Do you think the car started up and just ran perfectly fine? Or do you think some seriously stupid stuff happened because of mechanical failure? Well, it's actually option B. So what happened was you have, well, how their fuel pump was built, you had two different halves. You had a top half and a bottom half of this fuel pump. The top half, bottom half come together. They're pressed together in the middle by like a seam or whatever. So somehow, whoever O'Reilly's has building those parts for them, they somehow found a way to screw that up. Because as soon as I started that car, that seam in the middle where the two halves meet started spraying gasoline right out of the side of that mechanical fuel pump. Just dousing gasoline. I was very lucky that I was able to shut the car off as soon as it happened before anything serious could occur. Like, that literally could have it could have caused a fire. It could have caused some real serious problems. Just actively spraying gasoline everywhere. I mean, imagine how bad that situation actually could have been. I was very lucky to be able to cut the car off right when it happened. So it failed. O'Reilly's mechanical fuel pump failed. How you screw that up, I don't know. I have no idea. So I ended up just taking it off, sending it back to the store, getting my money back, obviously. And I ended up just doing like a real deep, like, chemical clean on the original fuel pump and just putting that one back on and just running that fuel pump. And it ran perfectly fine. But my point is that just because something is brand new doesn't mean that it doesn't suck. It doesn't mean that it's not a piece of crap, is what I'm trying to say. For another example, this time with AutoZone, I bought an oil pressure switch, oil pressure sensor, whatever you want to call it. Same thing. People call it different names or whatever. Because on our car, on the Saturn, our oil pressure switch was the original one from 2003. And what had eventually happened was it started leaking oil out of the switch, out of the electrical connection part, which is no bueno, right? So it needed a new switch. So I go into AutoZone and I pick up a new oil pressure sensor and I get home and I install it. And I shit you not, within 3 days, it failed. It failed. Very similarly to the fuel pump failing. 3 days go by. I'm driving down the road. All of a sudden, my oil pressure light comes on the dash. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. That's not what you want. So then I start seeing a shit ton of smoke coming out from underneath the hood. So I pull over immediately, shut the car off. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I pop the hood and I look down at that oil pressure sensor. It is literally gushing oil out of it, right out of the electrical socket, just gushing oil. After 3 days, a failure in 3 days from an AutoZone oil sensor. So eventually I get it home somehow. I had to gas station hop, essentially, meaning I would drive a little bit down the road, stop at a gas station, dump oil in the car, drive down the road, stop at another gas station, put oil in the car until I made it home, because I can't drive it with no oil because you'll probably blow the motor up, obviously. So eventually I do get it home on some freaking miracle, and I end up sending I sent that oil sensor back, got my money back from AutoZone, and I got an oil sensor from Napa, which has been on for about 3 or 4 months at this point with the Napa one, with 0 issues whatsoever so far. Knock on wood. But yeah, so far the Napa one is doing excellent. It's doing great. But that's what I'm saying. I've gotten some pretty crappy parts from O'Reilly's, and I've got some pretty crappy parts from AutoZone, right? So whoever those guys have over in China, Taiwan, whatever you may be, whoever they have manufacturing those parts, the quality control is just, it's not great. You know what I'm saying? And that's what, and look, looking at this box, this Napa box, right? Like I said, we have a thermostat from Napa, and this says, where is this made? Made in Israel. So this, made in Israel. We have another Napa part. It's a coolant temp sensor. They work very similar. Well, not really. I say they work very similar to an oil sensor, but not quite. A coolant temp sensor works on temperature, heating and contracting, whereas a oil pressure sensor works on like literally pressure. So they're not that same, I guess. So this part is made in China. It's still made in China, but it hasn't failed. So, and here's the thing, guys. Just because something is made in China or Taiwan or whatever doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that it's junk, okay? It depends on the quality control in that particular factory that's actually making this stuff. So all I'm saying is that so far, all of the parts that I've gotten from Napa have been excellent compared to O'Reilly's or AutoZone or whatever. That's all I'm saying. So ever since then, I've just kind of stuck with Napa, and so far I have not been disappointed. So I don't know, just a little bit of a PSA, a public service announcement, in case you guys don't know what PSA means. I have no idea. Just a little heads up warning for everybody out there who's like trying to work on their cars and get parts for them, trying to guide you guys in the a better direction as far as getting parts. But that's pretty much going to do it for this video. Those are just my experiences, and that will conclude this video, and we will see you guys in the next one.